Good afternoon. I am calling this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Erasmo Villarreal,
Present.
Jose Tellez,
Present.
Carlos Flores, George Beckelhammer,
Present.
Raúl Ugalde,
Present.
Johnny Narvaez,
Present.
Abraham Lugo,
Present.
Daniel Lopez, Jorge Dominguez.
Present.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Can we have a motion to excuse the two commissioners?
I'll make a motion to excuse both
Second.
commissioners.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you. The next item, everybody can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item we have is the consideration of the approval of the minutes of the meeting of February 7th. I move to approve. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, citizens' comments. I do have some citizens' comments here. Okay, and in looking at this, they all pertain to item 8.
Chairman, if I may make a motion to move item 8A to the front, 8E to the front, please.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, let's go to 8A. 8E, I'm sorry, 8E, not 8A. All right, this is a preliminary consideration of the utility trailer plat. The intent is industrial. This is a 10.51 acre tract, and it is located north of Muller Memorial Boulevard and west of FM 1472. The zoning for this one lot development is M1. It's located in District 6, and the proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from the Planning Department, from the Engineering Department, Water and Utilities, and there's a notice to developer. The engineer of record is Daniel Gomez.
District 7.
Mr. Gomez, can you please come up? Huh?
I'm sorry. I'm Daniel Gomez, the engineer record for this project. And this is for the, right? Master
The
plan?
utility, no, the utility trailer.
Oh, I'm sorry, the utility really? Yes, we concur with the comments. We will comply with everything.
Okay. I have a question for you. What is the intended use of this particular tract?
It's an industrial, it's going to be an industrial lot property.
An industrial lot?
Yes.
Is it gonna be one lot or?
Just one lot, and the only access is going to be through the existing street. No access is going to be on
Muller?
On Muller.
So the access is in this street coming in from the industrial park?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you said the intent is industrial. Is it for building a warehouse or?
Actually, for storing trailer containers.
For storing trailer containers? Now, are these containers to be used as for sales, or are they gonna be moving in and out, or?
Mostly for sales.
They're mostly for sales. Okay, so then the proposed use of this 10 acres is to store trailers, and these are the trailers, they're 55 footers or something like that, right? And it's basically for sales?
Yes.
So there will be no trailers that will be utilized, I guess, as storage in terms of, because I did go by that property today. I saw there was about 40 trailers on there. And I saw some with reefers, refrigerated units. And I was just kind of concerned that if this is going to be, for parking of trailers, that these units may be on with, frozen cargo, whatever. Can you shed a little bit of light on that, or?
Let me confirm that. introduce Richard Gomez. He's he works for the,
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Gomez, and
Yes,
I branch manager for utility trailer sales. And our company is basically a trailer sales company. And the units that we sell are just for pure sale. They're not loaded, they're not turned on. It's just a trailer, 53 footers like you mentioned. And they're gonna be dry vans or refrigerated trailers
Okay, so that's strictly a lot for
for parking trailers.
parking trailers that'll be sold.
Yes, and there's not gonna be, it's not a trucking company that you would see a lot of movement in and out. They're just stored there. Mainly, our main office is about 3 blocks away on Trade Center. So, that's gonna be an overflow
Okay,
for our business.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions from the commission?
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman. The way I see the plat is that we're in M1. The zoning is M1, so once we approve the plat, that can be reconfigured, or that can be used as it is for any purpose that is contingent to M1. That particular cul-de-sac that I see there will not hold the traffic if they decide to turn that into a trailer park.
Well, I think first of all, that cul-de-sac won't work. If you're gonna have trailers movement coming and going, it has to be an open area. Mr. Engineer?
the cul-de-sac is for the main, it's to provide maneuver for the fire truck. It's just one lot, they're gonna have access internally,
So it's a 10-acre tract,
yes.
and under the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, of course, it's gonna be utilized for sales, it requires that the lot be paved.
Yes.
And that it has obviously the wheel stops also, okay? So then the fire department is, let me call up Chief Dominguez to clarify that a little bit.
Armin Ruben Dominguez. Well, usually on something like this, an open lot, we usually don't get involved until there's actually a building constructed. The only other instance we would get involved if the trailers that they had there were storing some type of hazardous material. But usually in an instance like this, the roads that they put up on the lot have to be big enough for a trailer to go by. So usually if the trailer is big enough for the trailer, it's usually good enough for the fire truck. But usually in something like this, there's not really too much for us to look at.
I guess my question to you is, do you need a cul-de-sac? Because I see that, I mean, a cul-de-sac is,
Well, the
they're
only
gonna be
thing would
going over
be-
that cul-de-sac constantly.
Well, the only thing would be if it's a dead end over 150 feet. See, I don't know that's
Well, if-
likely what happened here. Wherever
if it is-
that one-way starts, from there to the end of it, if it's over the 150 feet, you're required to have that turnaround for the truck.
Well, I'm sure it is, because it's about a 10-acre tract.
Right,
so
and
I'm
that's
sure
why,
it is.
that's likely why they have that.
So then you're gonna need something like that?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
that was my question. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the commission for the engineer or for Mr. Gomez?
But I still have that concern,
That's
Mr.
right.
Chairman, that the cul-de-sac, Mr. Gomez, is so small that we have an M1 that is going to be used for utility sales. But it's not limited to that. Once we approve that, I mean, you can do almost anything that is available in M1. So that cul-de-sac will not be in compliance if you decide to do anything else than to sell trailers. See, you have that to sell trailers right now, but after tomorrow, once we approve this, you can change your mind and do whatever it's expected on M1. So that being said, the distance from the property to where the cul-de-sac is not big enough, not even to park a trailer there. If
Well, I think what's gonna happen is if the use changes, because this is preliminary, they still have to turn in all their design work to the city. But if things change and that cul-de-sac goes away, then they're gonna require a street, okay? I mean, and I think the engineer's aware of that too, but at this point, what they are proposing, and all we can go is by what they're saying, is that is the use. Okay?
okay,
One
Yes.
quick question, Mr. Chairman. I don't quite understand how the lot is being accessed. The cul-de-sac is a flat curb, so you just drive over it? I don't understand that. or it's the adjacent property, how are the trailers entering the property for storage? I don't,
And the cul-de-sac will have curb and gutter and
no, but that's that street then, so where the,
the dead end?
yeah, so where it's the round end, the
Where will the
cul-de-sac,
gate-
that's what we're referring to, right?
gate be?
Yeah.
Where
Right.
where
That's
will they
industry.
access it?
Right, but it's not a high curb, that's for access to the whole property.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. But why are we calling it a cul-de-sac? Isn't a
Well,
cul-de-sac a dead
the
end?
reason that they're gonna design a cul-de-sac is because the fire department
Department requires.
just said that they're required to have a turnaround if the distance of the property is more than 150 feet, which in this case it would be.
Oh,
It
That's the
doesn't-
only reason.
It has to be 150 feet in diameter?
No,
No.
the road leading to it.
Oh, the road leading into it.
It's just any road that's a dead end that's over 150 feet requires a turnaround so the truck doesn't have to back up 300-400 feet in reverse. It just comes, does the cul-de-sac, and they can go straight out the other way.
Oh,
It's to reduce
That's what it
accidents.
is.
okay.
Okay? All right.
I just have a question. Is there any plans for a buffer or any type of obstacle blocking the adjacent track where the school is located?
The owner is considering, where the school is, building a cement, a block fence towards the elementary school, the property line. And then, on the side of the other streets, some fencing, landscaping, trees, make it, neighborly, nice and neighborly.
So how high is the fence? How high?
However high it should be on the side of the school.
7 feet.
Well, the ordinance requires 7 feet,
Right.
but I think your box is, what is the height of the box? Basically, it's about
It's 110.
12
It's 110 inches.
The height.
in height?
The height. The height is,
10 feet.
it's
9 and 3, about 12, 13?
12.
About 12 feet high. The ordinance requires a 7-foot opaque fence, okay? That means that no light can penetrate it, so it has to be a solid wall of some kind. That's what the ordinance calls for. Given that the school is there and you're cognizant of that fact, would you all consider in your design, and this is just, I'm gonna just throw it out, of maybe putting that wall a little bit higher where the school is?
You can consider that, of course.
I mean, because, and of course, you did mention landscaping, which I think is a very good thing too. And you mentioned trees and stuff like that to kind of like,
Correct. Surround the area.
yeah, to kind of like buffer the area with some landscape and some trees, and eventually the canopies will sort of hide everything, okay? All right? Any other questions from, thank you all very much. I do have some people that signed up that want to speak. I'm going to recognize them at this time. First speaker that we have is Memo Castro.
For the record, my name is Memo Castro. I'm a resident of La Bota. You probably have been hearing about our ongoing battle with the property owners and the deceptive of our home. There was some zoning prior to this, and you'll hear some people speak on that, on behalf of that. We're not against progress, but you know, when the master plan was built way back, Mines Road was gonna be an industrial area. I understand the man's investment of trying to bring business here, but there's gotta be a proper way of doing it. Right here, the vision of two things. It comes in, the vision of us driving into our homes. You see trailers on one side, but the most important, you see a school. These reefers are gonna have to have some maintenance work. And we have photos and we have evidence that we show that there's been work done there. There's spillage of oil and stuff like that at the current time. How did the zoning allow them to go before and put trailers when they have not even platted? So it goes back to the system. Let's build it. If nobody says anything, guess what? Go do it. It's time that we move Laredo forward and do the right thing. I count on you gentlemen to do the right thing because you're our line of defense in protecting our home values, but the most important, protecting our children in that school. Years ago, you may recall, we had a chemical spill when I used to live at Rancho Viejo. Middle of the night, you have warehouses that store dangerous products, and they had to evacuate people there. Let us be considerate of the safety, first of all, and the second, put yourself in our positions. You invested your monies, your nest eggs, into building your home, a dream home, to be shattered by trailers, warehouses. Let's not make the same mistake we made with Indian Sunset. You open your door and you see a trailer's backing up, warehouse over there. Either we decide to make industrial parks. Nowhere in the United States of America do you have manufacturing and homes. You're creating for catastrophe to happen. Please stand with us and protect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Castro. We have Vanessa Perez. Would you please?
I brought some paperwork. I don't know, does this work? No? Well, I'm a resident in La Bota, and I just wanted to say that a lot of the homeowners are against this. And yeah? Okay. Well, one of the main reasons why we're against it is, well, like Mr. Castro said about the trailers, and also just to add to what Mr. Dominguez said, which I thought was an excellent point that he said, is that right now it's M1 and they're using it to store trailers, but it could be any M1 usage in the future. And if you look at the master plan for what La Bota was supposed to be, that lot was supposed to be for community retail. So I don't know why that lot became an M1, and that doesn't keep with the master plan of La Bota. Like he said, people bought their homes here with the idea that there was gonna be a golf course, with the idea that there was gonna be an intermingling trails from our homes to the school. And now you're gonna have a trailer park in between that, you know, pathway for the kids to get to the school, which doesn't keep with the neighborhood. And if you go back to the colored map that you have had earlier, which I actually like, if you can put it back up.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Do you have an extra copy of that?
Yes.
Is that the original master plan from like 94?
Well, I was actually gonna bring it up. I've been actually asking for public records several times, and this was the most recent one that they gave me from 2004. So I don't know if the planning department can help me with my request and give me the things that I was asking for. I only had 4 copies, so can you guys share one?
Sure.
And maybe share one over here? Sorry. But if you look at this map right here, you can see actually how beautiful it is for us to drive to our homes, like along Muller Memorial right here. You have, you know, green, school, and then green, and then we have like a water feature, and then you come into our homes. Putting a trailer park right here would actually bring the trailers all around us, like very close to our house. So we don't really feel that keeps with the community business intention of that lot, that we, you know, a lot of people purchase their home under that plan. So I don't know where along the ways we went from this to M1, or if it ever was changed from M1, or, I mean, there's a lot of questions here on that, and I don't know if that's beyond the scope of this meeting, but that's what I'm here to address, because that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I really can't do that because I haven't gotten a lot of the records that I've been requesting, but because you asked me, is this the one? As far as I know, this is the last master plan. One of the other items that I gave you in the packet is an application. Can you put back the EKI machine? Sorry. This was an application in 1993 that was submitted actually to have La Bota rezoned from agriculture to a PUD, and that was Cardinal Creek in the back. And if you look here, it says the adjacent property is zoned for a PUD, single-family house development is near completion, low-density residential. The site is not affected by the thoroughfare plan. No impact will be incurred other than further establishing site-built low-density residential. Nowhere in the intention does it say anything about trailers or M1s along the way. And if you look right here, this was the site that the city approved a PUD to be built. So I don't know if it was M1 before, but as you can see, somewhere along the line, they changed it, the intention to be community community retail. So somebody in the city approved this development, and now we're having to fight to keep trailers out of the community, which is like unfair to us and unfair to our home values, unfair to our kids, and unfair to the intention of the development. Is that, okay, you let a residential development happen in the middle of an industrial park, but don't allow the industrial park to encroach further and further and into like our homes, is what we're asking. That's it.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Go ahead.
Staff, do we have any information or any regards to as far as the progression of?
The progression of the zoning?
Yeah.
No, this was strictly a plating issue, so we don't have the history of the zoning tonight, but we could get that for you for next meeting.
Let me ask you this, the documents that I just received, is a conceptual master plan.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it was approved. I know that all I got here is I do have some documents where there's ordinances established in '93, but I don't have a document that says this conceptual master plan was approved.
Sir, that's what I got from the city when I requested my document.
And I understand what you're saying. My question is, if it got approved. Because a lot of times conceptual master plans get submitted to the city and then they never go anywhere. They never get approved, okay? And that's why I'm asking them, because it's record keeping, that kind of
Can
thing.
we get a copy of whatever documentation also? Just if it was approved or the application, I've been trying to get it, I haven't been able to get it from, I don't know if it's the zoning department that's supposed to provide it or. I did an open records request twice.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, she has requested some documents. We've already submitted all the documents to the legal department, and they will then, I guess, compile all the information from the various departments, and then they will proceed to.
Because I only received 2 documents.
How long ago did they request it?
Oh, they would have.
Because
Well, we've already submitted everything from us.
you have to file a response in writing to them within 10 days, otherwise you give
The
them
legal
everything.
department takes care of all of that, so they're the ones that.
I submitted it on the January 25th, and I received notice that they would be helping me out. But then when I received them, I asked for several documents and I received 2. And so I submitted another record request yesterday because I modified the original request and it's still open and they haven't responded. So I was looking for, trying to find out also the same thing, is that why is it an M1? Like, why are we even having this issue today? If this was against the plan and the reason why people bought into La Bota in the first place, this totally goes against everything that, it's not fair to us that we have to deal with trailer parks. Fine, we have to deal with them around us, but don't allow them to come onto the main area where we have to drive by them on our way home. It's like Mr. Castro said, you're bringing them too much close to the home when you already allowed this subdivision to be built. And the first subdivision that was allowed is way in the back, which was the map that I submitted with on the back, is that first zone that was allowed is all the way in the back, like over here, and that was in 1993.
Is that Cardinal Creek?
Yes. So in 1993, it was approved. So, I mean, was the intention always to approve it, and then allow trailers on the way? I mean, I think that the idea is to preserve this as residential, which, as you can see, the intention was, if there's going to be any commercial, it's going to be for residential business. Because who knows what it could be in the future.
Well, one of the things is that I can't tell you is that Muller Memorial Boulevard, you cannot have tractor trailers on it, okay? It's not a truck route. Tractor trailers cannot go on it.
No, and it's right by our gate. We have a private gate that we pay for, and this lot is right next to it.
Yeah, I mean, it cannot be used for tractor trailers, okay?
So I don't see how this can be allowed to be an M1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm new to this, so please bear with me a little bit.
So am I.
But we assume it's legally an M1.
It is an M1.
But somebody used the word progression, so we'd certainly like to see it at some point, so y'all can validate it. But there would be no reason to believe that it's
Incorrect.
inaccurate or incorrect or illegal.
No, that's what our official zoning map has.
Okay, and so then the access to that isn't on Muller Boulevard. You all understand it's from the backside, which I'm just
Industry.
learning all this myself. So what are the limits, with the exception of an agreed upon deal, I'll use the word deal, between these owners and the, what do you call it, not the housing authority, the homeowners association, thank you.
Oh, well, we don't represent the homeowners.
No, I'm already saying that I'm curious as to what are the limits of our authority on something that's legally zoned in M1.
I tell you what we
I
can
don't-
do is we can call our attorney and, for some, to tell us what, to answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Christian Rosas for the record. Commissioners, so yeah, when it comes to plat approval, the city council can pass any kind of regulations that it deems necessary for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens when it comes to subdivision or platting. But when it comes to now the planning and zoning, the task of approving or not approving a plat is ministerial, so you determine whether they satisfy the requirements of the statute, the requirements of the ordinance that are in place, and if you determine that they do, then there's no choice but to approve. It's merely a ministerial act that the planning and zoning commission takes, and so there's not much discretion there.
Okay, but, that was for my benefit too, but I wanted you all to hear the answer at the same time. So then it would be some type of a negotiation or agreement of good faith, of gestures between the entities to make bigger buffer or more greenery, or
Right.
there's nothing we could do to disallow as long as it, as you said, follows all of the ordinances and requirements.
Correct.
I have a question, Chairman. What's set in motion, the plat? What's set in motion? It said there's already trailers parked there, they're already using it for what they want to. What's set into motion, the request for a preliminary plat?
Well, the use before platting is not allowed. The zoning officers did go by today and
So that's what's set into
issue a
motion,
warning.
right? Was the enforcement?
They need to get a building permit for a parking lot.
Right.
And we don't issue a permit if it's not platted.
So they didn't have it, so that's what, okay.
But if I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, what we have here, we have a situation where we have a legal piece of land. What they're asking, is to be approved according to their requirements, according to the ordinances.
Plat.
According to the plan. But also we have a group of persons from the community that have concerns on that. I personally have a concern about that. I feel that if we're gonna approve it, we need to add the conditions that you mentioned as far as the buffers and the fences, and we must include that. So if they decide to change the use of the utility trailer sales in the future, because we know that can happen tomorrow. And then we have already protected the community at least by creating those buffers and those conditions that might be safe. And probably for them, it might be kind of hard to understand that we might approve something that they don't want. But we have to guide ourselves by the notion that we have with them one there. So, and if they're not going to be exiting to Mueller, then they're in compliance with most of the items, except the conditions that will not affect the members of the community. That was a comment that I wanted to make for them to understand that it's not us that are the bad people or that are doing the wrong decisions. I don't know how the M1 came into effect. See, let me finish, and I'll go ahead and let you. So we don't know how the M1 came into effect, but we know that it is there. And just the way you have rights, also the gentleman's Gomez, they also have some rights that we need to look at. just, legal counsel said we need to act according to the plan. So, that's what I wanted to say. Now, if you want to mention something.
No, I appreciate your clarification.
Come up
My
to
only-
Come up to the mic, please.
My only comment to that is that if it's an M1 in error, does that change anything for us?
We're not, at this point, it's been verified by the zoning department, which is the department that administers the zoning for the city of Laredo.
Okay, so then.
So there is no error there. They've already verified the zoning is correct.
Somehow along the way, a lot of those pieces of properties got switched from residential to M1. Between 93 or whatever until today, some of those parcels of property were changed to M1.
Mr. Chairman,
Whatever the case was.
from some of us who've worked in the planning department for a long time without having the history here, but it's our
Assumption.
well, it's our perception that actually the reverse is true, that this area was mostly commercial manufacturing, and then it started slowly changing to residential.
Well,
So-
that property was originally ag. It was owned by the two Mullers, the two brothers, and it was a ranch. And there was a partition of the property between the two different owners that became, one of them developed it M1, one of them developed it into residential.
Residential.
The thing is that M1 that they're complaining about was part of the brothers' property that converted to residential. It was all supposed to be residential with the bottleneck, with the entrance all the way to the back. So somewhere between 1993, which one of the brothers did this plan, which something close to this was passed, may not have been this one, but something was like that, because for years, there was a sign advertising for an 18-hole golf course in the front. Everything had been conceptualized as such. And they built it as such, as to be a residential area, and then the rest came in. But what we've talked about as a commission in the past 6 months is trying to limit with the future growth plan, to limit any future manufacturing to the east, or to the west and south of Mines Road, because of concerns of environmental concerns regarding toxic runoff to the river, because everything to the east or to the west and south of Mines Road, depending on how you're going, the interior goes directly into the Rio, which is our primary source of water.
Right.
Okay, but my understanding, according to legal, is if the plat doesn't conform with environmental issues, doesn't conform to health issues, we can reject the plat as given to us.
That's correct.
We've known for a couple of meetings now that we have a utility line, a sewer line that cannot accept any more flow. So any development up Mines Road should be stopped. We've brought up this concern before. Number two, we have a school right next to this place. Number three, we have issues regarding runoff. They want to build a 10-acre parking lot, essentially. Do we know how that water is going to flow? Are they going to turn Muller Boulevard into a river when it rains?
Let me just interrupt you a little bit. This is preliminary.
I understand.
They have to still, everything you just talked about has to be submitted to the city for approval.
And I can deny it if they don't give it to me beforehand. I can make them give me the plans before this. I don't have to approve it.
On a final.
I can still reject it at prelim until they give us some sort of concrete instructions.
Well, prelim basically is to allow the engineer to design, and then the city has to approve. That's the way it normally works.
I understand it, but I think we're still on legal footing if we don't think that there's enough effort been given at the preliminary plat to do it. And they can always appeal to the city council and deal with it that way. Or they can resubmit a plat with a more complete plat, because what you have is you have a 60-foot, 120-foot diameter cul-de-sac feeding a 10-acre lot. I mean, you've got traffic concerns there, you've got environmental concerns, you do have issues regarding a substandard fence that this needs more. And then we've got to deal with, it's not just this preliminary plat that we're dealing with other developments that are farther down Muller Boulevard that we've had issues with in the past.
For the record, traffic or environmental have not submitted any comments on this.
Have they met? I mean, this is a brand new plat.
This was all submitted to
Do
them.
they, I mean, as a new plat, wouldn't they have a parks requirement as well? Have they dealt with?
Not for commercial.
I mean, they're changing the purpose and the intent of the property that's there. I mean, I don't think as presented at preliminary, I mean, this is a little basic. And I don't think we're within our rights. I understand what the city attorney's saying. I think though that there's enough lacking here that you can make them come back and do so.
We have a technical review board of 11 different departments within and outside of the city of Laredo, and everybody has reviewed it, and all comments have been provided based off of what it was provided.
Okay. One last quick comment, I'm sorry. In proximity to the school, there's no prohibitions. I mean, I know there's prohibitions of use, but that's all well known to. So if anything were to change.
There's no prohibition.
UISD is also part
Well,
of
you can't
the
sell
technical
firearms
review
next
board.
to 1,000 feet from a school, isn't that a prohibition?
I'm sorry, say again?
You can't sell firearms from 1,000 feet from a school, isn't that a prohibition? So I'm saying
But
whatever.
there's no prohibition for manufacturing and a school or it's a B3 zone, so there's no separation distance requirement under the land development code for between M1s and B3s or M1s and schools.
Right, but the utilization of an M1, as Commissioner over here mentioned, there would be presumably there's some type of utilization of an M1 that wouldn't be allowed near the school. I'm just saying that's readily caught if they ever change the use. I mean,
I can't think.
Maybe it would be looked at.
Yeah, if they, you know, if there's something that they would come forward with, I can't think of something that would have a separation distance.
Fireworks, probably.
You're assuming that enforcement would be on the ball, that we would be able to stop it once it's done, but things already been
So what set
done.
them to motion was the enforcement. They're already using the lot for what they're.
And they already cleared it, they had already cleared it, they've already parked it from the aerial photograph, about 80.
Yeah, they already got the trailers there.
well, I don't think that's in violation of anything, but the Commissioner here brought
Prior
up
to
that.
being platted,
It is a violation right now. Yeah, right now
They're
it
out
is.
of,
They're out of compliance.
They're out of compliance right now.
No, but I meant proximity to school use.
No. No, there's nothing protecting them.
Nothing there right now. Nothing there right now. Okay.
We wanted to make sure and point out that UISD is part of the technical review of this, and they didn't submit any comments either.
Well, would that be?
I believe that they do have a comment or a letter they're gonna present.
Oh, okay. They didn't submit anything to us so far.
But let me continue. We do have some other people that wanted to speak on this item so that we can move on with this meeting. Joanne, okay?
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. There are a few here, but none there, sorry. I really appreciate all of you today, listening to our concerns. Having been a resident of La Bota for 19 years, I feel like I live in a recovery mode, preventive mode. We're always fighting fires. Thank you for being here. But I say that in a sarcastic way. What concerns me greatly, thank you, George, for bringing up the school. I don't think you've had an incident like this before, next to a school. I don't think you've had an M1 zoned next to an elementary school. Can you tell me if there is one?
Unfortunately, there is.
There is. And I guess the lesson wasn't learned then. In speaking to the principal yesterday and to teachers, their view as they go to the parking lot is that of tractor trailers. The view the students have when they are in PE is that of tractor trailers. Yes, we know this is an industrial town. Money comes from the revenue from our 18-wheelers. But I am concerned because I don't think it sets a good precedent. I'm sorry there is another school beside an M1 zoned area. I don't think we should have this. I don't fault any of you because you were probably not on the planning and zoning at the time it was approved, and we understand that. But we're coming before you today because you are our hope that this can be remedied. I agree, and thank you, Mr. Dominguez, that things could change. I love the idea of trees and whatever, but trees take a long time to grow. So I would like 12-foot trees planted. I don't want 5-foot trees planted. It won't do any good. They're going to take years to grow. I also like what you said, Mr. Villarreal, when you talked to me on the phone very patiently and attentively, and you also, Mr. Ugalde, thank you. I feel that we should have some type of help with regard to noise pollution, environmental pollution. Most of the winds that blow in Laredo, in La Bota, or in Laredo for that matter, are southeast. This particular area that has been zoned M1 will bring all of that downward to our homes. And it is an environmental concern to us homeowners who've given up our evening to be here, because we're counting whether or not legally it can be done. I'm hoping, sir, that somehow you can just take a moment to study this much further before you make a decision on whether or not it should be platted. I am concerned that tractor trailers were already parking there without a permit, which concerns me greatly. And thank you for sending enforcement to check that out, whoever did that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Comments? We have Fernando Rodriguez.
Muy buenas tardes, puedo hablar en español. Mi nombre es Fernando Rodríguez. Creo que ya todo se dijo, lo que estamos peleando por ahí. No sé si pudieran poner aquí para decirles que ya están usando el terreno ahí con los trailers. Ya tienen trailers ahí ellos. Ahí. La entrada la tienen por Industry. Ahí ya tienen más de 40 trailers. Todavía no tienen ni el permiso, no tienen nada. El día de hoy tomé las fotos, aquí están. Y no hacen nada al respecto. Y van a dar mantenimiento.
We did issue a warning today. Sí mandamos al oficial y le hicieron, ¿cómo se dice en español? Un aviso. Un aviso. Se le dio un aviso al dueño.
Y como podrán ver, los señores tienen hay talleres ahí cercanos donde están dando servicio a ese tipo de trailers, a los reefers, y con eso hacen sus talleres mecánicos ahí adentro, aceite, va a haber muchas cosas va a haber mucha basura, aceite, todo eso, y la parte esta donde está la porción que quieren fraccionar es la parte más alta, y de ahí todo baja a nuestro lago que tenemos ahí, que se va a llenar de suciedad, de aceite, de diésel, de muchas cosas. Eso no lo previeron, por eso no se hicieron los anteriores. Hay un arroyo que corre por el lado izquierdo, que no sé a dónde vaya a dar, pero todo lo que se haga aquí, en ese terreno, va a ir a dar al lago que tenemos, que es un lago muy bonito, que es una de las muy buenas amenidades que tenemos ahí en La Bota. Y si les van a dar aviso, yo diría que les dieran, y si fuera algo más enérgico, porque la verdad se están burlando del municipio y de nosotros también. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. All right. I think, is there anybody else? Mr. Rangel?
Good evening. Microphone. Right. Good evening, Enrique Rangel, United Independent School District, Assistant Superintendent for Facilities. I apologize I was not able to sign in on the comments list. I would like to read a statement on behalf of Superintendent Roberto J. Santos and UISD Board of Trustees. It is our understanding that Muller family recently sold property next to Muller Elementary School, which is located off the Mines Road and Muller Boulevard. It is also our understanding the applicant for this utility trailer plat is the new property owner. Apparently, the owner now wishes to plat the property in order to be able to construct a utility parking lot, which will be located next to the elementary school. The purpose of this statement is to voice the school district's opposition to this applicant's plat submission to plat this property in La Bota subdivision next to our elementary school, which would be used for utility tractor trailer parking. To allow consideration for a tractor trailer parking lot to go forward will cause detrimental health and safety concerns for our students and administrators attending the elementary school. Furthermore, the noise and pollution that will be caused by these tractor trailers allowed to park next to an elementary school will have a detrimental effect not only on our students attending our school, but also our employees. It is a grave matter of health and welfare of our students, teachers, staff, and administrators. Last, it is our understanding that there are currently approximately 20 tractor trailers already parking on this property, even without the property being properly platted for such use. We urge the Planning and Zoning Commission to deny the utility trailer plat as listed on the agenda item, and to please refrain from taking any action to approve this type of business to operate next to Muller Elementary School. Thank you.
All right.
I have one question for the applicant. For the applicant, Mr. Gomez, now hearing the citizens' comments, I would just like to ask, you heard their concern. Is there any further consideration as far as the buffer? And hearing also the legal advice, is there any further consideration that you would like to address at this moment to better the buffer?
As better the buffer, I need to consult the owner. They're from Houston. It's a family out of Houston, the Loring families, and they own dealerships throughout Texas. One being here in Laredo, we opened up 11 years ago. So I need to speak to him about what transpired here tonight.
Okay.
And he's a family man. But as far as a buffer, I need to consult with him.
Okay.
Can I say something about
Yes.
another picture that was showed there on the repairs? Those repairs were not from our facility. There's a facility close by on Industry, which is about half a block from there, and they themselves are the ones doing the trailer repair on that, just to verify that there's no repairs being done out there.
Can I ask you, would you entertain for us to table this item until you speak to the owners?
Yes, I can speak to the owners as far as the
And then we
buffer.
can, once you talk to the owners, bring this item back?
Correct.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Would you be in concurrence for that?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to table?
Motion to table. Motion to table.
All right, the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomez. All right, moving on. All right, the next item we have is public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 1.27 acres located at the southeast corner of Ejido Avenue and Wormser Road from R1A, B1 Limited Business. The proposed use is commercial, and currently the site is vacant. The recommendation by the staff is the zone change is appropriate for this location. They support the zone change. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change.
There are no updates.
No updates?
No update.
19 letters were sent out, no updates. Anybody who wishes to speak against
favor?
In favor, Danny Wires.
Too late.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, just a clarification. We're bringing a Family Dollar to that corner. And we're requiring it to be their top line store, 100% brick. And the people in that area, that surrounding area, have no services. The variety of meats which you all graciously approved a year or so ago down the Ejido is now becoming a reality. And so the whole area is coming up. We appreciate your support.
All right.
Mr. Wires, question having nothing, or kind of nothing to do with this one. What's the status of the improvement regarding Wormser Road?
I don't know, I email every 2 weeks, the YWT Helena, the commissioner, and she normally gets back real quick. You know, we would like to see it happen. We're building that right of way, which is going to loop around to Cuatro Vientos. And we're going to need an easement across Wormser. Right, you know, right now we spend $1.5 million on Guaymas, and it just dead ends to Wormser. So yeah, it's an issue. We're back on top of it. I think all the people that live there, especially in Cuatro Vientos North, want Wormser to happen. So yeah.
Let me ask you a question on follow-up from the commissioner. I think I read in the newspaper somewhere where the county was gonna go ahead and pave Wormser. Do you know anything about that?
They put it in the request of money from TxDOT.
Okay.
And you know very well how that works.
Okay.
It can happen quickly or can take 10 to 15 years as far as priority goes.
No, and the concern I think with the request was they weren't gonna make it as big or as sufficient for what they may need.
My understanding, the request was a 4-lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 4-lane. So
But-
that's
but when you
48,
have-
no, that's 60. Because a 4-lane and a turning lane, yeah, that's 5-lane.
But it's more narrow than what you have on Ejido. Ejido, where it meets up there with Wormser, is a 5-lane, and that's where it cuts down.
You know,
to
this
4.
is just a road running through a commercial subdivision. I mean, if 2-lane is sufficient on the thing, and it may have no traffic at all. That's what we're building in pieces. If we can't get an easement to cross into Cuatro Vientos North, there'll be zero traffic on that road. So we're taking it piece by piece, but it is more than ample. And we met Family Dollar standards, and they require 2 exits. But we feel like it's we share your concern on Wormser, and are doing whatever we can do to make it happen. But we are giving them 2 exits, and that's why we're building that additional access road.
Sure.
I have been in that area, Mr. Chairman, and it's an area that is being developed for the community.
What's being developed? 1.27 acres.
On the change of zoning?
Yes,
that we're requesting?
1.27 acres.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good for the community.
Enough for a box store. Yeah. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 5, Block 2025 Eastern Division, located at 3220 Ross Street, from R2, which is multifamily residential district, to B3 commercial community business district. I'm sorry. The 13 letters were sent out. No updates.
No updates.
And the staff supports the zone change. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Yes, ma'am, come right up.
Hi, good evening, Janet Vega. We're trying to change the zoning because it's not residential and it's already a block. We're next to what used to be Costa Azul, the restaurant. So I'm kind of late on changing the zone because the whole block's already changed, but I'm a full-time student and I finally finished paying the lot, so we're trying to build something. We still don't know what it is. I've tried to get quotes from people that, like to build even just the cement, but I get stuck with, oh, your zoning is still residential, I can't give you an accurate quote. So that's why the zone change. So, thank you.
Any questions? All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor. Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to support staff's recommendation for the zone change.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next item is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by repealing ordinance 2015-0-136 and authorizing the issuance of a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol on Lot 1, Block 5, Delmar Village subdivision located at 120 West Boulevard.
Was there a change to this one?
I do know we have a different communication. Is that,
Yes, we wanted to make sure that we included parking calculations on your communication. We did receive one in favor and one in opposition.
okay? And according to your calculations that they have the number of spaces necessary for this particular venue.
Yes, we have enough.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor? In favor of the special use? Yes, sir.
I'm Jose Guarino. I'm the owner for La Mariscana. We've been operating for over 3 years. Everything's in compliance. The only amendment that we're doing to the ordinance that we have right now would be just to extend the hours. And, I mean, just changing the permit holder because the landowner changed her company, so that's pretty much it. That's the only changes, and keep operating the same way, 51% over in food sales, and, you know, that's the reason.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is actually for the same restaurant?
Yes.
Just to extend the hours out?
Yes. That's the only
Okay,
thing.
very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And the owner,
Okay.
because you can't transfer.
Change the name. It's a name change.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor of the special use? Anybody wishes to speak against the special use? Against the special use permit? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to close public hearing, support staff's recommendation. And
Second.
approve the zone change.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 77.71 acres out of Lot 1, Block 1, San Isidro Southwest subdivision. This is going from a B4 Highway Commercial District to R1A. And there was 3 letters sent out, no updates.
No update.
And the staff supports the proposed zone change.
Downgrade.
This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor?
Mr. Chairman, Commission, Ricardo Villarreal, Howland Engineering, on behalf of the client, here to speak in favor, and if you all have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Villarreal, the commission? Thank you, Mr. Villarreal. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
A motion to close public hearing and approve the zone change.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is a review and reconsideration of Los Presidentes East Master Plan. The intent is residential and commercial. The purpose of this revision is to reconfigure phases and realign streets. This is a 170-acre site and is located west of Concord Hills and east of Cuatro Vientos Road. The zoning for 185 lot development is AG, R1, R1A, and B4. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from the planning department, from the engineering department, the fire department, the traffic safety department, parks and leisure, and a notice to developer.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested this item be tabled time certain.
All right. Motion to table?
Motion to table?
Motion to second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next item is review and consideration of Bella Vista Master Plan. The intent is residential. This is a 63-acre site. It is located north of State Highway 359 and east of Judith Gutierrez Parkway. The zoning for this 223 lot development is R1A. The tract is located in District 2. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from planning and fire, water and utilities, traffic safety, parks and leisure, and there's a notice to the developer from planning. Daniel Gomez, I guess, is outside.
He might be outside.
I just want to know if he's okay with the comments before we move forward on this thing.
We sent some staff
Yeah.
to go and
Okay.
advise him.
I was asking for access to,
I apologize for that.
This is the Bella Vista Master Plan. The recommendation is approved subject to the following comments. Are you in agreement with the comments?
Yes, we have reviewed most of the comments. We're still dealing with some issues, but we somehow will clarify it.
Okay, all right. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, subject to the following comments?
second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the preliminary consideration of the plat of Cuatro Vientos Drive right-of-way dedication. The intent is right away. All right. This tract is located south of the Wurmser Road and east of Ejido. The zoning for this development is R1A. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from planning, from fire, from water and utilities, and a notice to developer. Strictly right away. All right. Does anybody have any questions for anybody, or is anybody? Sheriff Engineering is engineer of record? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Eduardo Martinez from Sheriff Engineering. We're the consultants. We concur with the comments.
Okay, all right, thank you. What are the wishes of the commission?
Close the public hearing and approve according to the,
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries, thank you. The next item is preliminary consideration of the plat of Lomas del Sur's subdivision unit, what is that, 10, 11?
19.
19. Okay, there's the other end. All right, I'm sorry. For the Family Dollar. The intent is commercial. The site is 1.27 acres. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from planning, from engineering, from fire, and notice to developer from planning. Sheriff Engineering.
Eduardo Martinez from Sheriff Engineering, and we concur with the comments.
All right, thank you. What are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion, close public hearing, and support staff's recommendation, approve subject to the
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. The next item is preliminary consideration of the plat of Bella Vista subdivision, phase 1. The intent is residential. This is 5.54 acre tract located north of State Highway 359 and east of Judy Gutierrez. The zoning for the 32 lot development is R1A. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from, wait a minute, revised parcel area too. I imagine the first comment comes from the planning department, is that right? Because it doesn't have planning on top.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It is planning, right?
Yes.
All right. From planning, from engineering, water and utilities, parks and leisure, Webb County appraisal, and a notice to developer.
Hello, I'm Daniel Gomez, the record, and we concur with the comments.
Okay. Any questions for the engineer? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to close public hearing and approve.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. The next item is preliminary consideration of the plat of San Isidro Northeast subdivision. Puerta del Sol, phase 2, the intent is residential. This is a 31.51 acre tract. It is located south of Juan Esquita Boulevard and east of Bucky Hoodman Boulevard. The zoning for 147 lot development is R1A. The proposed action is approved subject to the following comments from planning, from water and utilities, traffic safety, parks and leisure, and a notice to developer from planning. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ramiro Ibarra, I work for Slay Engineering. I'm here representing my client, and we concur with the comments. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Have you caught up to date on all the parks requirements and the amount of footage that are dedicated area that needs to be done?
Yes, sir, we have an approved master plan showing that area, and just 2 weeks ago, we started construction on two smaller parks on San Isidro Northeast area, one in Los Palmares area and one north of the Academy in Phase 2. Construction is underway.
I have a question.
Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, yes. Environmental doesn't seem to ever comment, and, I mean, I don't know if they ever see, but they haven't in the past 2 meetings. And I'll just bring up my concern that, I don't know at what point of X number of acres that becomes a concern for the runoff. So utilities has commented about the sewer system, but there's nothing about the runoff. I'm really saying, is it not customary that at some point they'll comment so that it's on the record that they say that they're indicating that they've looked at it? So it's not like 5 years from now or whatever. It's not just this one, there was there's larger developments also. But there's no comment about runoff.
Can you answer that question? I mean, these preliminary plats have gone through what departments?
They've gone through all the departments that you see here.
Okay.
We submitted to
So-
all of them for their review.
Okay, so to answer a portion of what you're asking is, the environmental department has seen it.
Right.
Now, they just have not made any comments at this point. However, there is still design work that needs to be resubmitted back to the departments for them to have a further, like what you just talked about, you know, containment of runoff and stuff like that.
Detention
The engineer has to submit his calculations.
Yes, sir.
Based on the drainage area, based on where the water's gonna go, and based if it's how they're gonna catch the water and hold it, because you cannot pass it on unless you have agreements with, you know, neighbors and stuff. But
That is
I
correct.
believe
Yes, sir.
in your master plan that there is a detention pond
Yes.
that you need to design to get the water to that particular area.
They have a,
Is it a detention or retention?
Detention.
Detention pond, okay.
In fact, I think, don't you have to develop your development in an order where you already have a detention pond or you capture the runoff?
Well, this is the first subdivision that's going to this low point, as per an agreement that we have with the adjacent property owner. So that's why we're building the detention pond with this subdivision. This is the first one that's draining.
Well, this phase.
can you point
This
it out
phase,
to
I'm
them?
sorry.
Can you point it out?
There's a detention pond right there.
It's right up
that
there.
big-
That big old lot.
rectangle.
Okay. You see the big
Top right.
square at the top?
Yes.
But those are part of your calculations when you guys develop the streets?
Yes, during the one-stop shop process, which is after this approval, then that's when we start, you know, developing. And when this subdivision goes into construction, that detention pond will go under construction as well.
Okay. Any other questions for the engineer?
Okay, so just one last thing, I don't want to drag this out, but they don't necessarily, the environmental doesn't on their own put some kind of stamp of approval on that type of stuff?
No,
If there's no commentary that we're to assume that it's good?
Actually, he's putting his seal, his license on the line by doing that. And what happens is, for example, if there's more runoff, how, in a perfect world, the way it's supposed to work is, this is phase 19? They still, you guys, yeah, this is phase 19.
It's
They-
phase 2 of this
It's phase two.
subdivision.
Okay, phase
Phase
2.
two.
But it's part of a way bigger subdivision.
I mean,
Yeah, okay. They have other stuff. So if they realize that there's bigger runoff than they need to be, they need to go back to either read or dig out further the detention
Well, they have to
pond,
submit their calculations,
and then
okay?
find out if they're accurate.
They have to go, after this, if we let them go forth, based on this is preliminary, then he has to go to work and do calculations based on the number of lots he's gonna bring in, the number of streets, surface coverage, and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff. And he has to prove to the city his calculations on the amount of runoff, and the city has to agree to that.
Prove to the environmental department, then it comes back. We're fine.
It gets looked by the engineering department and also by the environmental
Yeah,
department. They go over our calculations, and then they don't give me the approval letters until, you know, everything.
Oh, there we go. So there's an approval letter that's submitted by.
At the very end, when you get a final plat approval, he needs to get approvals from all the different departments in writing
Okay, very good.
before it can be coming to us for final approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in previous meetings, the commission has expressed questions regarding the comments from utilities, we do have a representative from the utilities department that could address any comments or questions that the commission may have.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it was important for us to have a representative. We welcome you.
Thank you. My name is Oscar Regosa, for the record. And I'm coming here to hear what the concern you have.
Well, some of the concerns we've had, to be very honest with you, is all the development going up on the Mines Road area where there is no capacity for sewer. And we had questions on that. I know several of the commissioners that have been here have had questions, but there was nobody to answer them. And we had plats before us that were like, okay, now what? You know, there's no sewer, what's gonna happen?
And I think
Example,
it's on this
plat.
one, on
Exactly.
8P.
And so, yeah, and that's why we needed somebody here to be able to at least give us some information so that we could make an intelligent decision
Okay.
on what can happen.
No, and the way that the note, the comment right now on number 1 is written, it says the project cannot send the flow to the 30-foot or 30-inch sanitary sewer line. This line is overloaded, cannot take more flows. So that, what that says is we shouldn't even approve the plat. Let's just shut it down.
Yeah, that's correct. The line is already over capacity. I mean, the hydraulic load from the upper areas sends a load to the line, and the flow is raising on the manholes. Right now, is 7 feet above the top of the line, and that's provoking a pressure on the line, and there is a lot of debris that the line conducts from the lines connected to that point. I'm talking, the point is that the Mines Road and 935, where 224 connect, one from San Isidro and the other one from the Mines Road area, and that's just 224, but little bit down, there is another 24, another 14 and 12 that connect to the same line is overloaded, and we stop approving projects that go to that area, and by the way, we are not going to approve the plats that just came from Slade or Howland, because it's the same case. The flow is gonna go to that same line, and it's gonna worsen the problem. And we need to say no, because the point that is going to come up is that at one point the water is going to flow over the top and through the streets.
Well, let me ask you this, let me ask this question real quick. Knowing that we're at capacity in these areas, is there any proposal right now out there for the utilities department to start looking at additional new lines, oversizing lines, or what's the plan?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did speak with the Utilities Department Director today, and we've arranged for him to come and give a presentation to the commission. That'll
Okay.
happen on the second meeting of March.
Okay.
With the first meeting, the legislative trip sort of interferes
So
with that.
Washington.
So he's gonna come and present
Okay.
proposed improvements and be available to the commission to
Because
address.
those are a lot of key concerns right now, you know,
In this
there is no
case-
way that these plats can go forward.
In this case, it does seem that the comment does indicate that they have met with staff, and they're working towards rerouting the sanitary sewer flow to the WWTP, which does have
It's
enough
a
capacity.
treatment plant, but I mean, that could be a heck of a long ways off.
Yeah.
And that's cost.
The notes are pretty direct.
Yeah.
And they're very clear. So at first, when we read them, they're either hyperbole or there's a disconnect between utilities department and city council, because it sounds like, if they're accurate, which what he's saying is they're accurate, is that there's been a complete lack of foresight everywhere in here.
Yes.
By management, by staff, upper management, or by city council. And so what he's telling us is basically, he's not exaggerating here.
Saying stop development until we
Stop
can figure it
developing.
out.
So what are we doing here, having a meeting regarding plats that they're not gonna go anywhere? We're wasting our time. We're having meetings.
I think there has been a presentation. I don't want to misspeak, but I do believe I remember the utilities director presenting to council on the needs of the the network and the system. And I'm assuming that that presentation, he will repeat it for the commission, in 2 meetings.
The concern, though,
Well, I mean-
is if there's going to be a presentation, then there's going to be a vote, then there's going to be bids, and then it's going to
Well,
take time.
here's-
We're at a point where things should have been done 2 years ago. Well, I'm trying to give them a little bit of credit. The idea that they're barely having meetings on this now is unacceptable. And we're really wasting each other's time until there's actually things being done. Why are we even having meetings?
We're stopping development.
Well, what's gonna end up happening here, Commissioner, it could be that they put a moratorium on any development because there's no capacity.
But they should already have done it.
You know, and that sends a negative message out in this community. It's the last thing you wanna do, but in reality, that's basically what's happening right now. You'd have to put a moratorium on any development right now until they can catch up with the infrastructure.
May I? So if in the future we could have some of these acronyms blown up, so I'll know what they say, at least for a few meetings. LWUD is what, please?
Laredo?
The Laredo Water Utilities Department.
Okay, and then the WWTP?
It's the
Wastewater treatment plant?
Oh, okay. And so this apparently is doable if you all put it here? If they're negotiating?
Well, they're gonna bypass something, but we don't know.
I mean-
Like, that's the only way that this project is doable, if they bypass
They'd have to build
things.
their own system to the plant.
They're
what
passing
Mr. Ross
costs
was saying,
along
right?
to the developer
Yes,
that they need to do it because
They'd
they
have to
didn't
build a
adequate.
system, a line all the way to the plant.
We need to construct another line bigger than the 30 to take all the flows that are coming right now, plus the future developments to the east and to the west. And all those flows are gonna have to be conducted by a new line, starting at the Mines Road intersection, maybe paralleling the existing one, but the other line is.
And the current lines are flowing to which plant?
The other line, the 24, goes to the Zacate Creek wastewater treatment plant, and the problem is right there at the beginning. I mean, the flow is too much for the line.
Wait, this one here on San Isidro goes to Zacate Creek?
Yeah, they goes to the same routing. We were proposing to Mr. Ramirez to construct a additional line from his development to a sewer line that we have close to Shiloh wastewater treatment plant, and direct that flow to the other one. And he was going to talk to his boss and say if they want to do that, because we were asking them to construct that line with their money.
Thank you.
I think what I really would like to see too is in Ria's presentation is, I'd like to see how the sanitary sewer system is laid out, because we have plants on the Mines Road, we have plants on Shiloh, we have the one you're talking about over here in Zacate Creek, and then we have one in South Laredo. But I
Fernando, can map
think-
that?
Huh?
I'm sorry, so
Can you map that?
we
Sure.
wanna have in this presentation, say again?
I want to see like,
The flow.
What goes to
where are the lines going, you know, and what areas are they covering for development? And where do we have the shortfalls right now? I can see the shortfalls right now seem to be in the northern quadrant and in the western quadrant, which is the northwest Mines Road area. And what I'd like to see is what do we have, what are the size of the lines we have, and what is the future hold in terms of who's doing what Commissioner Day has asked for? Who's actually master planning the particular growth into the future so we don't get caught short? And I think,
Well, the thing is, we've already been caught short.
well, and that's what I'm saying, but I'm talking about future.
How do
I'm
we?
talking about the future right now in terms of, we're already short, but we don't want to continue that pattern.
What I see, Mr. Chairman, if I may, is that one of the reasons, and I see why developers are bringing all this for approval, even though they know that they might not have the infrastructure. How do we know how to increase our infrastructure if we wouldn't have the pressure out the development? So I personally think that it's good that we get all these plans, because that's the only way we know how we're gonna grow.
Exactly.
You forgot to mention, 359 is really growing up. There's a bunch of them, and of course, I mean, we're caught, as Commissioner Tellez says, we're now on the guard because we got all the development coming up and we don't have the infrastructure, but.
We're behind.
But I still welcome the developers to bring it before us and they have to wait. But we won't know until we get all this information and then we can put it together and say, this is what we need, so let's go ahead and.
Well, and I think to me, the critical point too is they're going into the budget cycle. And so those are kind of things that we would like to see too right now and say, okay, if we're gonna go into the budget cycle, let's look at, what is the priorities right now? What is an immediate, and we already kind of identified some immediate areas here that, need major attention. For this commission, like Commissioner Tellez said, I mean, is it really worthwhile to bring a plat forth if you're gonna say, oh, I'm sorry, you just got to this point and that's it, that's the end? That's unfair to a developer. You already spent time and money, and then you have no end result, and that's bad.
No, that's unfair to the landowner or whoever's paying the engineers, and everybody's here spinning our wheels regarding something that obviously our systems overflowed and there's been no foresight whatsoever, but unfortunately our city has a history of building for yesterday and with no foresight whatsoever, and nothing changes.
Well, we were doing well there for a while, okay? After 98, right after NAFTA kicked in, we started catching up when there was a slowdown in the economy, and we did well. But unfortunately, they didn't keep up the pace.
Well, this will slow down the economy. We don't have capacity to.
Oh, right now you don't have capacity.
What is our, do we have action, this is still on?
Yeah.
Still on the table.
You can ask staff to tell the utilities director that we want answers as far as what specifically, like the commissioner said, I want to see how the flow goes to which wastewater plants.
What's the drainage area?
Or what's the drainage area? Because some of this doesn't make sense. Like this is San Isidro. San Isidro is draining to Zacate Creek when Shiloh's right there. Like why are things going in a way that don't make, like you're taking the longest route.
And really, in Zacate Creek, correct me if I'm wrong, is supposed to be closed.
Zacate Creek is gonna be closed, and then the flow has to go to the.
It was supposed to go to South Laredo a couple of years ago, and it hasn't happened.
So another question is that the way they're gonna reroute the sanitary sewer, that would be that the cost is absorbed by the developer, right?
Developer.
Right now.
So, right now.
Yeah.
But the
Right
city,
now-
I mean, they all pay taxes so that the city can support that, can have that capacity, right? Because what they're gonna do is they're gonna turn around and give it to me when I buy a lot.
Yep.
And because we're not prepared, and we don't have, we're not proactive, then.
Theoretically, one of the basic functions of the city is to provide fire, police, utilities, which are electric, trash, sewage, whatever. And we failed to provide at least one of them. And
There's obviously a problem, right?
It's gonna be a problem because, always the city has, take charge of, in charge of the construction of the reds to collect sewage and drive it to the plants.
But I also think that the utility department is the department in charge of this type of, the city, the councilman, they're not gonna, they have a bird's eye view of progress, right? It's the individual department that's responsible for sounding the alarms and going to city council every Monday and asking them for money to do improvements, or I don't know if that's being done, or they just stay quiet and, I don't know if that's.
Well, I think that's why we're asking for the director to come and make this presentation to this board, this commission.
The buck stops with the utility department in this case.
well, it stops with the city manager.
Yeah, true. All right, thank you very much. You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Wait,
There was no action.
Yeah, we did. We voted to approve it.
Oh, we,
We voted to approve it. This was comment afterwards.
Yeah, he came in after the fact.
he
It's already
was
been
just-
approved. Yeah.
so who made the
Who moved the
motion
motion?
and who seconded?
I don't know.
I didn't think we made a motion to approve, I'm just saying.
We did. We made the motion to approve, I think, Dominguez or Mr. Luo.
Yeah, it was.
It was approved. This was extra on top of.
This came after the fact when you said that he was here, so it was already approved.
Yeah.
We didn't get anything. Did you
Back
get anything?
back to the.
We can replay instant
Look, we
replay.
can redo it again.
Can we?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, motion to close public hearing, approve.
I got a motion, a second? Second. And a second, all those in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.